In this video, I'm going to show you how to install this front knuckle on this Volkswagen Beetle. Let's get into it. In the trunk, you're going to go find this panel and just twist these and unlock them. And we can slide this forward and slide it up. You want to locate your wheel lock key right here. For the center cap, we're going to use this hook and then grab the screwdriver. This is a two-sided screwdriver, so you want it on the straight side. You should have a little center cap here that you need to take off. You want to use the straight blade screwdriver, just get underneath there, pop that off. This vehicle does not have that. Then take your hook and then find this hole right here and then just pull the cap right off. It's just held on by those positions. Now you can access the lug nuts. Use the wheel lock key, find the wheel lock, take that one off with a 17mm socket. Then using the same 17mm, we're going to take off the lug bolts. Before I take the last one off, I'm just going to support the wheel from falling. Take that off, then pull the wheel off. I'm going to disconnect this connector. This should just be on the driver's side. This is for the brake pad sensor. This little tab, and you just slide that off, and that disconnects. This one's actually completely disconnected. Set that aside. Now you want to pop these caps off. Just use a straight blade screwdriver. Take those off. Now using a 7mm hex key or socket, you want to take these two bolts out. And grab the caliper, just rock it back and forth. Then you want to take a brake caliper hanger and we can hang the caliper up. We're going to remove that screw. I'm going to use an impact driver. And just hammer on this. Put a little pressure, twisting it to the left, and then you tap it. Once it loosens up, you can unscrew it. And pop the rotor off. You can just hit in these locations and it slides right off. Now I'm going to take a 5mm hex key and take this bolt out for the wheel speed sensor. You can use a socket as well. Take that bolt out. Now I'm just going to use a pry bar, just try to pry this out. And disconnect the connector. Just push down on the tab. And slide it out. Now I'm going to use a 30mm 12-point socket. Take this nut off. Just going to take a punch and just give it a couple taps just to separate the axle from the hub. There we go, that's loose. Now we're going to remove this wire from this clip. There's a little tab right here. You can bend the tab up out of the way. The wire slides out, and we can move that out of the way. This one's already disconnected. And then just slide it off over here. Take these 3 bolts out for the ball joint. Use a 13mm socket. I'm going to remove this tie rod nut. Use a 19mm socket. Take that off. If you have a special front end tool, you can use it to remove the tie rod from the knuckle, or just be careful and using a hammer, just give it a tap on the bottom. Pop it out. Now we're going to take this nut and bolt out. We're going to use an 18mm socket on this side, and I'm going to use an 18mm socket on the other side and just hold the bolt from spinning. Take that off. And it slides right out. Now we're going to take a hammer and just tap this down, get this to release from the strut. Just be careful because once it's released, there's nothing holding it in. You're going to want to keep pushing the axle out. Axle's completely separated. And there we go. Now we're going to take the nut off for the ball joint because we're going to reuse the ball joint on the new knuckle. Use a 18mm socket. Take the nut off. It slides right out. Now I'm going to use a front end tool and remove the ball joint, separate it from the knuckle. Go. Just separated it. Put the ball joints in and the nut. To prevent the ball stud from spinning, I'm just going to use some large pliers. Just hold it tight as I tighten this down. And we're going to torque that nut to 33 foot-pounds. Now line this up. So you want to get it started on the strut. slide the axle in place while you slide it up. Kind of need to do it together. I'm just prying down on the control arm, get the ball joint started into the control arm. Just so this doesn't pop out, and put the axle nut on. And it's not going to fall. There we go. Just use a pick, try to get that to line up. I'll take this nut plate. Just try to get a couple bolts started. When doing this, you want to replace these bolts with new bolts, and then you can torque those to 15 foot-pounds. And then after you torque them to 15 foot-pounds, you want to use an angle meter and torque them another 90 degrees. If you don't have an angle meter, do the best you can. Underneath the lower control arm, I'm going to use a floor jack and just raise up the knuckle. I have to give this a little tap. Going down. There it goes. Take the new lower strut bolt, put that in with the nut. Tighten that down. And we're going to torque this to 44 foot-pounds. And then with a torque angle meter, go in an additional 90 degrees. And take the tie rod, line that up with the knuckle. I'll put the nut on, get that started. I'm just going to use a pry bar underneath the strut and pry down on the tie rod, snug this up. Now I'm going to torque the nut to 33 foot-pounds. Snug down the axle nut. Take two of the Take 2 of the wheel bolts, get those on. I'm going to take a long pry bar. You want to prevent this from spinning. So we'll put that in there. Oops. Then we're going to torque the nut to 129 foot-pounds. Take the bolts out. Now take the wheel speed sensor. You want to connect that, lock it in place, and slide it in position. Now put the bolt in, get that started. And take the tool and snug it down. Now re-secure the wire right here in the clip. This wire is going to go around here in the bracket. That'll go just like that. I'm going to put a thin coat of anti-seize on the hub. Take the rotor, slide it over the hub. Line up this hole with the threaded hole. And we have the screw, get that started. And with a Phillips head screwdriver, we'll tighten that down, just snug. Now plug the connector in first, line that up in the back, lock that in place. Now slide the caliper over the rotor. On the bottom, you're going to have the caliper go over this piece right here. And then it just pushes on the top. Now get the caliper slide bolt started. You might have to wiggle the caliper a little bit. Now torque these to 21 foot-pounds. Now you can put the caps on, line those up. Just make sure that's all the way down. Yep, that's good. Perfect. Now put the wheel on, line it up, put the bolts in. And the wheel lock key with the wheel lock. Just tighten those down. Now we're going to torque the lug bolts to 89 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Just go around, double check. Take the key off. With the center cap, line it up. Push it on, and then if you have that little cap, you want to put that little cap on. Now you want to put the tools back. And close it up. Lock it down.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.